Hey everybody, what's going on? Mark here at MoFit, and we are going to do our very, very first reaction video. I'm going to do a reaction video. What do you think of that? So I'm going to play a video. We're going to watch it together, and I'm going to react to it and say things about what I think about what is going on in the video. I like watching these. I've watched a lot of people do these reaction videos online, and I think they're helpful. I think they're very beneficial. I think it's a good format for teaching things. So we're going to use this video here. You can see it on the screen. This is a gentleman who has a YouTube channel called Women Who Lift Weights, and this particular video is why sometimes it's good to drop the deadlift. Now, anybody who knows me is rolling their eyes right now because I talk about this all the time. I hate when people drop deadlifts. Let's just get that right out in the open. I'm going to have lots of things to say about this video because it drives me nuts when people drop deadlifts. And what do I even mean by that? When you're doing a deadlift, which you're picking up usually a barbell from the floor all the way until you get a full knee and hip lockout at the top there. You're standing tall, okay? And then you put the bar back down on the ground. And the goal is to, over time, eventually work on being able to lift more and more weight. It's a strength building thing. It's not really a bodybuilding exercise. And there are people out there with my physique who can deadlift 600, 700 pounds. Spoiler alert, I am a couple hundred pounds below that. But here's the thing. Exercise scientists around the world agree, and it's been proven through studies and experiments and, the sciencey things that people do, that the eccentric phase of a lift, which is the part of a lift where you're lowering it back down, you're bringing the weight or the resistance back to where it started. The concentric phase is the part where you're pulling it towards you. So let's use a bicep curl as an example. You curl it up, and that's the concentric phase. You put it back down, that's the eccentric phase. You get 60 to 80% more gains during the eccentric phase than you do during the concentric phase. So, a long time ago, somebody said, let's just do the eccentric part slower, and we'll spend more time there. Since we're getting more gains from that part anyway, that'll probably mean that we're going to get even more and more gains if we do that part slow. So, it turns out that's true. So slow eccentric, especially if you're, here's a good one. If you're training for pull-ups to get better at pull-ups, right? Negative pull-ups are the best way. And lat, if you have a lat pull-down machine, that's a good way too. That's basically a negative pull-up. Or it's basically doing a pull-up with a lat pull-up machine. But if you don't have one of those, or a lat pull-down, if you don't have one, use a box or something to jump up, hang from the bar, and just lower yourself down slow. That's an eccentric pull-up, and that will go a long way towards helping you get your lats built up and be able to do pull-ups. But let's talk about deadlifts, because that's what this video is about. So he's going to tell us some reasons why he believes that lowering deadlifts has benefits. So let's listen to Coach Rob and see what he has to say here.
Hey, it's Coach Rob here at Heavyweights. I'm going to explain to you something I saw, long story short. A couple of weeks ago, I posted, I think it was an article about dropping the deadlift. I think it was an image I posted anyway. And there was a whole bunch of comments below about, you shouldn't drop your deadlift, and, what do you do in CrossFit, and if you drop it, doesn't count.
So in powerlifting, if you drop it, it's true, it doesn't count. In CrossFit, you can drop it. But see, here's the thing. We won't go into that. Let's do this.
Here's the thing.
What do you mean crap?
Unless you're powerlifting and you're stepping on the platform, dropping a deadlift has benefits. Okay? You can open your mind a little bit and understand that there's always a specific reason that I do something with my coaching, and dropping the deadlift has a benefit and a purpose, okay?
All right, I just want to take issue with what he just said right there, and this is just a coaching thing. He said, open your mind a little bit. That's not how science works. You can't just open your mind and decide that what's been proven through peer-reviewed studies isn't actually the case. What did Neil deGrasse Tyson say? Something along the lines of, the great thing about science is that you don't have to believe in it for it to actually be true. So I take a little issue with open your mind.
And dropping the deadlift, I do something with my coaching, and dropping the deadlift has a benefit and a purpose, okay? A lot of the injuries that come from deadlifts, a lot of lower back injuries, don't come from the deadlift on the way up, they come from the deadlift on the way down. This is a big issue, and I'm going to show you why that happens, okay? So if I get somebody that comes in and they have a previous back issue, usually I can get them to deadlift up, no problem.
Okay, hold on a
second. Lower back injuries don't come from the deadlift on the way up, they come from the deadlift on the way down. This is a big issue. And
I would love to see some studies that support that. I'm just thinking that through, because some of this is the first time I'm hearing this. So he says that more injuries happen on the way down than happen on the way up. Now, when you're doing the upside of the deadlift, you're picking up what would be a very heavy load, and you're going from no load to complete load instantaneously and lifting it up. And if an element of your form is wrong, or your technique isn't really polished, and you lift up too much weight and your body's in the wrong position, on the up, then you're going to potentially hurt yourself. One thing about deadlifts too, that, and this supersedes everything else that I say. You could deadlift perfectly your entire life. You could have a nice straight concave back and your face is aiming out, and you're keeping your center of gravity right up, the bar right up against your legs, your center of gravity spot on, and still get a horrible back injury from that. Or the other side of that coin is you can be the worst lifter and lift horribly, dangerously, disgustingly bad for 50 years over and over and over again and never get hurt. That's entirely possible. Anyway, I take issue with more injuries happen on the way down than they do on the way up. So he's saying that people get injured during the eccentric phase of a deadlift. And I don't have any data to back that up, but he also didn't give us any data to back up his statement either. So I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that one.
Show you why that happens, okay? So if I get somebody that comes in and they have a previous back issue, usually I can get them to...
I'm going to play that back again. I'm going to stop it at a different place.
If I get somebody that comes in and they have a previous back issue...
If I get somebody that comes in and they have a previous back issue, we're probably not going to deadlift. We're probably going to do different stuff.
Usually I can get them to deadlift up, no problem. The lowering is an issue. So I simply get them to drop until they get better control of their core, better mobility of their hips. Dropping is fine. So I'm going to show you.
But lowering the deadlift is what's going to give them better control and better mobility in their hips. I mean, there's lots of other things that you can do that too, but lowering the deadlift down would be a great way to do exactly that. So if you're not doing that, if you're lifting it up and not putting it back down, how are you building the strength that you need to be stronger at putting it back down? Does that sound stupid? How am I going to get better at opening and closing my refrigerator if I don't open and close my refrigerator a whole bunch of times? What if I open it, but I never close it? Aside from an impending divorce, I would suck at closing my refrigerator. I want to hear that one more time.
Is an issue. So I simply get them to drop until they get better control of their core, better mobility of their hips. Dropping is fine.
How are you developing your core if you're just dropping?
So I'm going to show you how this works, okay?
Okay.
So if you can come over this way. So when I deadlift, okay, I'm going to say I'll pull sumo conventional, doesn't matter.
Sumo conventional doesn't matter. That's what he said, right?
Watch my lower back when I deadlift. Okay, I'm going to say I'll pull sumo conventional, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. They're different lifts. They're both called deadlifts. I mean, a Romanian deadlift is a different deadlift as well, and a trap bar deadlift is a different deadlift. They're all different. So he's doing barbell deadlifts, and he just said that sumo deadlifts and conventional doesn't matter. They're very different. You use your quads more in a sumo deadlift. You don't lift the bar as far off the ground. You can lift more weight because of all that with a sumo. Anyway.
Watch my lower back when I start. Okay, so watch my lower back right here. I'm in a very good starting position.
No, he is not. I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer on the screen here, but you see what he's doing with his face right here. He's aiming his face straight down at the ground. Like if you look where he's looking at the ground right here. The way the body works, your head's connected to your neck, is connected to the top of your spine, and everything else all the way down to your hips. And if your face is aiming down like this, it's going to make it a lot easier for this part of your back right here to round over. And a rounded lower back is potentially something that would cause a weakness that would then in turn cause a potential injury down there in your back. So hopefully at some point he doesn't stop. He doesn't keep staring at the floor. What I always have my people do is aim their face straight out. And I don't even say look straight out. I say aim your face straight out, because those are two different things. So let's see what he does. Now he's staring at the floor.
The problem is when most people go to lower, watch my lower back. Here's what they do. As soon as you do this, you're in trouble. Okay, I put a herniated disc in my lower back. My body does not like doing that. The proper motion from the top down is a hip hinge, reverse hip hinge. But a lot of people don't know that. They don't know how to do it. So they get the deadlift up and then they bend their back. As soon As soon as you do this under load, you're asking for trouble. So it's simple, a simple thing.
He's mixing up. He's making a chicken soup of Romanian deadlifts and traditional deadlifts here. A Romanian deadlift is going to be all hip hinge because you don't really bend your knees much on that, or a stiff leg deadlift, whatever you want to call it. And that's a real lift. And the whole idea is to purposely put your back through that stress so that you can strengthen it. But you don't use anywhere near the same amount of weight that you would do a regular deadlift with. I want to hear that one more time.
The proper motion from the top down is a hip hinge.
On a Romanian deadlift, but on a regular deadlift, it's a combination of hip and knees, and it's all knees once the bar gets down to your knees. Well, no, it's all hip rather. I had that backwards, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not just a simple hip hinge.
First hip hinge, but a lot of people don't know that. They don't know how to do it, so they get the deadlift up and then they bend their back. As soon as you do this under load, you're asking for trouble.
So the right thing to do when they do that is to coach them on how to not bend their back, instead of taking half of the lift away from them, like as a punishment or something. I don't.
So it's simple. A simple thing to do is drop your deadlift. Okay, drop your deadlift until you learn how to control it from the way down. So here's how it would go. So from here, my initial motion is hips back immediately.
Looked fine, except that he's staring at the ground. He's got his face aiming at the ground.
Now I'm in a good strong position. Hips back. If I bend my back, I'm in trouble. So it is.
No, that's not entirely true either. You can bend your back, and you're not automatically in trouble.
It's okay to drop your deadlift, especially if you have back injuries. Again, most of the issues.
Now, if you have back injuries, you probably just shouldn't be deadlifting.
From the lowering, not going up. So anytime if you want to drop your deadlift, obviously if your gym allows it, do it. But there's nothing wrong with it. It has its purpose when doing it.
There's a lot wrong with it, like I just talked about. You deadlift to get stronger. That's why you deadlift. And you may be deadlifting to train for a competition or something. But guess what? If you're training to do well in a competition, then you're still training to get stronger. And if you skip the part of the lift that makes you 60 to 80% stronger faster, then you're skipping the whole reason to be deadlifting altogether. So to say there's nothing wrong with dropping your deadlift is just incorrect. Have a wonderful day, everybody.